Before we start building, I'm going to give you an introduction to Mautic and to the different features that it has within it that you'll find within your dashboard when you log in. So here we are within the Mautic dashboard. This is what you'll find once you've created your account and logged into the dashboard for the first time, although this will be completely blank. I've got a couple of activities I've done here already. So this is, from the menu on the left, this is the dashboard area. And you can see, you can set date ranges and see number of contacts created, where they've come from. When we've created lists, we'll be able to see which ones of those are attracting the most people. We can see visits to our landing pages, emails we've sent, and various stats on activity on our pages and how long they've stayed around. Okay. So that will become more useful as there's more activity on the account. You can add and remove and shuffle these various widgets around to suit your own preferences. The next thing you'll see is a calendar, which is useful if you're sending out campaign emails. Again, we don't have a lot in here at the moment, but this is really to make sure that you can keep an eye on campaigns going out, maybe that there aren't too many things being sent in any given day or week. You can see lists of contacts. You can see I've just got one test one in there, and if we click on that individual contact, we get a lot more detail about how engaged they are, so how many emails they've clicked on, pages they've visited, and you can see that person's history, so arriving on the page, filling out forms, and that contact being created. You can also fill out information about other information you find out about them, like phone numbers and contacts, social media contacts. You can make notes about emails and calls in there. You can look for social media profiles related to that email address, and you can see a history of places where they've logged in. So typically that will just be one area per contact. And you can also edit all the details on that individual, all the core fields, and any of their social media activity that you want to keep an eye on. The point system is something that's mainly used for lead scoring. So we keep points so that we can prioritize our hottest leads, the ones who have done the most activity with us, maybe for more expensive marketing like direct mail or telemarketing follow-up. So that's what that's for. We won't be using that within this campaign at the moment. It's a fairly advanced feature and you need quite a lot of activity to make it meaningful. So we just want to get ourselves off the ground with this first campaign to start with. Okay, segments we'll build out. Once we start to build up our contact list, we can split that list down into segments. Mautic operates on the idea of having one list broken down by different criteria, rather than lots of multiple lists inside of itself. So that does make it a little bit easier to manage in that you have fewer decisions about how to group your customers together. Components is where we're going to spend most of our time while we're building this campaign. So within here we've got assets, which will be things like our PDF download, and you can actually store those within Mautic itself, and it'll tell you when somebody has clicked to download one of those items. Dynamic content we won't be using just at the moment. Forms are there to gather email content, email addresses and contact details, and those usually sit on landing pages like we're going to build as part of our funnel. So we've actually got 3 pages within our funnel. We've got our initial landing page with the form on it. We've got our success page that pushes them off to the email. And we've got our final sales page. So they can either have forms or other kinds of content on there. Campaigns is where we create our follow-up campaign and our onboarding email campaign. So those are critical parts. That's really where most of the emails get sent out from there, and the different rules about how people move from one email broadcast to another one. Channels allows us to communicate with people through multiple routes. So most of the work we'll be doing in this first stage is by emails, but we can also monitor social media activity, mainly things like Twitter mentions, so we can see if people are engaging with us through that channel. And then focuses are website notifications that we can push out to people while they're on our site. Points is what we use to adjust those scores that you saw on the contact page. So actions and triggers mean if somebody does something. So if somebody visits a pricing page, for example, that might indicate they're likely to become a buyer. And then triggers is what we do as a result of that. So we move points up or move them into another campaign. Stages is quite similar. So we'll move people through stages of a buying process, and we can score those as well. And then there's a series of reports to do with people who have done things like visiting our pages, people who have completed forms, who's got certain points, who's downloaded various PDFs or ebooks or other assets, and the reactions to certain emails. Okay, and we can collapse that menu to keep it out of the way when we're working on things like landing pages. Now there's a lot more detail in the settings area up here, but we're going to leave that alone at the moment because for out of the box, we don't really need this information for Mautic to run, and we'll run through that in some more advanced classes later. But it's just useful to know that there are things like configuration pages in here, and that's where we set things like anything from just the color of our dashboard to defaults for who is going to be sending out email campaigns and so on. So it's worth a quick look through there. Most of the defaults in there look quite happy out of the box, but it is worth a quick flick through before you start sending things out in any large volumes. We'll cover any of the more advanced configurations in a later lesson.